Oh, I wonder if this is good overhead lighting. It was already on. Dang it. Oh, Maya, you're better at it. Like, just your head. That's what she said. No.
And now for something completely different.
In a world where everyone seems to have the answers, two people ask questions. Welcome to the Woo Woo Crew.
Wait. And
That's a optical illusion.
we're live from WFAA Channel 5's weather team in Florida. It's bright and sunny. Did you just run by? Dang it, he's doing embarrassing things in the background now. Well, sorry. There's a ghost. I just fainted. It was in the kitchen. Woo Woo Crew.
Woo Woo Crew.
Woo Woo Crew. Oh, my iron.
Okay, so now that we are recording,
yes.
I want to talk just real quick about my experience yesterday. Because
yesterday or last night?
Last night. Have you ever had a lucid dream in a lucid dream before?
Never once. Terribly jealous of anyone and all that do.
Have you had a lucid dream?
Never.
Well, I think that it might
like,
be
I literally think they're real every time.
Right. I think that there might be like varying levels of what it feels like to people, you know, and maybe even different. Like you could have one dream maybe where, yeah, it's like, holy shit, this is real, you know, and then another one when you come back and maybe like when you think about it, it was like, yeah, it felt real, but it's not on the same level as the last one, you know. And other times you wake up and it's like it goes so quickly, it's challenging to recall it, but then when you're there, it's like, yeah, no, that was pretty damn realistic, you know. And I think that the reason, for me, the reason that I feel confident this was because of the nature of there being a dream in the dream, right? So I'm going to paraphrase, if that's the proper usage of the word here. It might not be.
Yes.
My own dream, to the
Summarize,
best of my ability.
Yes.
So yeah, Cliff Notes. So there was this dude that I used to deal a poker game for. He was a friend of mine, and he owed me money for some reason in the dream. And
right, this is a dream. I was like, dude, cool job. Why haven't you told me that? Never mind.
Well, no. I mean, I did used to deal poker for him. That's how I know him. But
okay.
Like many moons ago, and that's how I know. So he's in the dream, and for some reason he owes me money in the dream. And he says, well, I'll just go get it, or let's go get it, or whatever. And I was like, all right. So I followed him, and he pulls up in this Porsche, a black 911 Porsche, which is a synchronous car for me, because when I was a kid, that was the first car that I really, really liked, you know? And I don't think I'm pretty positive he didn't actually drive that when I knew him, you know, years ago. But anyhow, I go up to get in the passenger seat, and for some reason, the passenger seat is like, it's like a flimsy chair or something. It's not even, it's like some cheap, you know, and then his seat looks normal. And I'm like, you know what, man, you go ahead, you know, you go ahead.
Yeah.
He goes, all right, I'll be back later. And so he leaves, and then I end up in a hotel room, you know, where you have the 2-bed scenario. And as I now realize that, so for some reason, I guess we were like on a casino trip or something. And so he went to go get the money, and then I'm falling asleep in the dream, and I'm in that cross between the dream state and like the trance, you know, kind of awake, kind of asleep. And then
in between,
I'm like faintly coming into the picture of laying in bed with what I, you know, to hopefully no judgment here, but with my quote unquote like ideal woman, you know, which I know energetically that felt to be the case, but also the ego's desire of what the ego likes in the other mate, you know, the type of body and all this stuff, right? So I feel like that's worth noting here. So, but then it was like I was noting that was happening, but back and forth, and then all of a sudden I was immersed in it, and it felt so real. And she said something to the degree, she was foreign, I know that, and she had an accent, but like she spoke well enough. And she said something to the effect of, I'm you're gonna find me soon, or I'm here, or something. I don't know, some kind of shit like that. But it just felt like feeling her body, it felt so fucking real. And then I woke up because Greg was back. And I'm saying to him, like, hey man, this is the last thing I remember. Hey man, let me know if you want me to turn down these affirmations. I just listened to them while I'm sleeping. And I tried to turn them down, but I couldn't. And when I woke up and I was reflecting, I'm like, that's because that's what I'm listening to. It was outside of the fucking dream. So how am I going to turn it down? But it played through. You see what I'm saying? Like it was like a multi-level kind of
Like
deal.
Inception.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. and the you know, whatever divine feminine energy, however you want to frame it, in this woman that was in my dreams, like I think to myself, I don't feel in lack of a relationship. Like I'm not scurrying around to date. In fact, I'm
Right.
not dating. I'm just doing my inward journey, you know, and I'll hang out with a woman, and, you know, and stuff like that. But like, there's no interest in dating,
Right.
you know, or like, I don't feel like I need to
And
find the
that's
one or anything.
genuinely okay. Like a lot of times I think we get pressured to like, you're not with someone. Well, what's wrong? Are you unhappy?
Sure.
It's like, well, sometimes you
Right.
just are okay being alone.
So, you know, but I would think like if that was something, if that was a part of me that was like, man, it sure would be nice to fucking blah blah blah, then maybe I
That
could
wasn't
see why that
you.
would come in. But like, I don't
That
feel
wasn't
that,
you.
you know? Huh?
Because that wasn't you. That's not your subconscious. That was someone talking to you.
Right.
Like
Okay.
that was a message. That's how my messages come in. It's
And
usually
I have
very
another
short. They
one
don't use
more,
a lot of words.
one more. So I have a couple new clients, and one of them is a sister of an existing client. And then I'm also working with a stepson in that family. And I don't know if this ties to them, so I haven't even brought it up to her, because I would bring it up, and maybe I will at some point. We just talk about so much stuff when we talk. But I had a dream where there was some kind of divine feminine. It was a woman in my dream. But like she had this energy of like, you're working with my babies. How are they doing? Kind of deal. You know, it was that kind of an energy.
Uh,
But it was brief, you know, and like the dreams, like I feel like my dreams over the course of, like, I don't, fuck man, like the last month or 2 months, like it feels like I go on these fucking excursions and there's multi chapters, you know. I also get up to pee like 3 times, so there's maybe that's part of it, you know.
no,
But
that's
then I
it. They
come,
tell people to drink a lot of water to remember dreams because you'll have to get up to pee. And when you get up, to write it down, write anything you
yeah,
remember. So they really tell
yeah,
people to do that to try to remember.
yeah. So, you know, and I have started to kind of like, not necessarily now. Last night I did a voice note journal. I didn't write it down, but I was like, I gotta voice note this, and so
Well, yeah, as long
but
as you
like I
have
haven't
it.
been doing that. I've just been like waking up and spending 10 minutes like replaying what I can in the dream in my mind. And I feel like that's also kind of like a version of working it out or whatever, you know?
Well, yeah, and even just integrating it, because for me, I'm lucky to remember them. So unless it's super scary, which is what your subconscious does when it's trying desperately to get you a message,
Yeah.
um, I just won't. And it's okay. So it's like twice I was feeling like it was an actual person with your dream last night, like as if her soul was speaking to your soul. And it was just one of those random things that maybe that happens all the time. Maybe y'all chill all the time and you just don't know.
Hmm.
And with the second one, it's interesting that you mentioned the divine feminine energy because with the eclipse, it 100%, like I've noticed for men, it seems like they were like, they felt the oneness, the unity, like this amazing energy. And all the women, like all the females in the house, the literal feeling was like motion sickness.
Mm.
I don't know if it was because of like, I couldn't even look outside, like whenever it was like coming back, because it was just so odd. My brain like didn't want to process it when you're like, but it's just dark and you know it's happening. But we energetically felt it. And what I felt drained of and what has been kind of a nightmare me for the past, like since the eclipse was, I think it just sucks you dry of like all your divine feminine energies. So being left with just this masculine, and then all my shadows came up, like all of them, every trigger for every day. My poor husband has been dealing with it beautifully, and we're learning a lot, but I'm just like, oh my God. And so finally, when like the moon came back and I could feel that energy again, I literally could take a breath, like, oh, okay. And so I think it was like a crown awakening for America, who desperately needed it. And it seems to have had a really interesting effect on men in particular, which is beautiful if what we're wanting to create and bring to life is this new world with, and it's not about like, oh, feminine only. I don't like when people like push that all over the internet where it's like, oh, women are better. It's not about being better. It's just about equal. It's balance. Like even in each of us, we need that positive and negative energy, or masculine and feminine. And so it's working together. No one's better than the other, but that is freaking awesome. And I'm jealous. My kids used to do it. They could lucid dream, and my daughter could like control the dream, and she would tell me all about it. And I'm like, boop, I'm listening, and I have my voice messages on. And unfortunately, I didn't do it with her because she was so little. It didn't even dawn on me. But with Hudson, I would record a lot of his dreams, and he's had like uber specific dreams with like Egyptian pharaohs and just really crazy cool stuff. So I think a lot of it's like, I think we travel. I think we're astral traveling when we sleep and doing, maybe we live like other lives. I don't know. But I do think the divine feminine was speaking to you like literally.
Yeah.
And
Maybe
kind of
it's
saying
just
like, maybe she's coming for you, or maybe an actual, I think it's kind of both. Is just what I'm feeling.
kind of both what?
That like the divine feminine was the one speaking to you, saying like, I'm coming to you. And also, I don't know, it doesn't, the one that said thank you for taking care of my children feels like Mother Earth. The first one felt like a soul, and the last felt like Sophia, like the void, the blackness, that where all creativity comes from, that the goddess energy, the goddess energy. And I love that you mentioned the Twilight Zone, because that's when I've had some serious messages come in, like the night before my father passed, and I heard clear as day, you have to go to the hospital tomorrow. You have to go. And I was like tired, because where you're awake but not asleep, and I was like, okay, no, I won't. And then like knocked out. And then I went the next day. But I'm excited to see what unfolds, and definitely keep track of them, because sometimes it's like something that seems like it doesn't make any sense at all, just like signs. And then weeks later, you're going to be like, oh my God. So it sounds like you're a dreamer, like a lot of people that have a really, really difficult time accepting their psychic abilities, when they hear like thoughts, because it's just like what you experienced in your dream. I think you were just in the in-between place. You weren't like really asleep, but you were receiving information in the easiest way for your brain to receive it. And oh, that's so exciting.
Yeah.
I want to learn to lucid dream. There's supposed to be like techniques where you can count, like counting your fingers.
I heard that it's if you're actively trying to get to where you're doing it or whatever, that it's good that during the day you start checking yourself and being like pinching yourself. All right,
Yeah,
I'm
like
done.
you have to genuinely ask, like, is this real? Am I dreaming right now? And I found that interesting, because I was like, I've never once asked myself that ever.
Well,
So I
it's
wonder if
like
that's maybe why, like, I can't tell the difference when I'm dreaming.
the video that I saw.
Like,
He was
at all.
saying like it's like you get in the habit of just asking yourself during the day, even though you know the answer. You just get in the
Right.
habit of checking, and then it
See,
increases
and
the
the one
likelihood
that
in the dream you'll
you'll do
check.
it in your sleep. Yes. And the one I read was like, it said the same thing. And then it also said how you can get confirmation. So like if you always count your fingers in a dream, maybe there will be one less or one more. And like that can be your trigger, like, oh, I'm dreaming. Now And then you can literally just sit there and speak to your subconscious. Could you imagine? Be like, tell me everything that I lie to myself about. I mean, it's like the Matrix. You can learn like martial arts in your sleep. So cool.
I do think that the dream world's basically like a portal into where we came from, but then where we came from is like so multifaceted that we can't even obviously begin to describe, but it is like a portal into that
I think so too.
to astral projection or remote viewing or whatever.
Yeah, I think definitely like I mean, I know that there's stuff that just happens in our brain, you know, because sometimes you'll have dreams of something weird, but it was something that related to that day, you know, but maybe that's just the one that I remembered because I don't think that we just shut off. We know we don't. We wouldn't. I mean, our minds are crazy active when we're asleep. So who knows where
Did I
we
tell
go.
you about how I started feeling like I'm getting into like kind of the witness or observer space when I may fall at certain points? Did I say that already? Last week?
Yeah, but it's so awesome. It's super exciting.
It's crazy, man. Like it kind of feels like it could get to the point where what happens if you really let go and you're just
that's the question.
I mean, like, you know, because it really feels like there's moments, and there's been a few of them here now hanging out with you, and I'm just thinking the vibration thing and everything. What happens if you just like let go of your avatar, like completely? You know, I envision that it could be that I could just sit here and have this shit-eating grin on my face, and then you finish talking, and I'm just sitting here, you know.
You would, and you're just like, I'm in love with you. That's what like when I experienced the Nirvana feeling, it didn't last. One time it lasted like 3 days, and I was like, this is it. This is thanks spiritual journey. Like this is my life forever. It wasn't. It went away. But every person I saw, I loved. Like would like sob because I'm like, I am so in love with you. It was like only seeing everyone's souls, and I didn't have questions. It's like there weren't questions about the universe. Everything just was.
I can see that, and I think that there might be an essence of that building in the background or as part of what I'm experiencing. But the best way I can describe it, for me, it's more like this feeling is like, oh, well, if you do that, it's akin to a kid playing a video game and he just leaves the controller and goes in the other room. Like he leaves the room. So then the avatar that he's playing would just stand still, right? Like nothing would happen, you know? And so that's kind of what it feels like to me is like when I'm in that space, if I really were to let go, then I would just be a dummy here and nothing would happen. And you'd be like, Phil,
it's crazy. Like, yeah. You're an NPC. Ew. That's a whole theory. Now I don't know if you're frozen or not. That was really good. Dang it. I'll have to do that to you. Dang it.
Well, I'm just saying, like that's what it feels like to me. It's like, but so I keep it.
So
when I'm
is
in
it
there.
like the flow state, or does it feel different than that?
Yeah, it is. It's definitely akin to part of the flow state thing.
Because that's one of those things. Like it feels like you'll just cheesy grin, but your body will do like the things. Like whenever I scored in hockey, the 100% flow state hit, and I'm like, oh my god! And I just knew like. You know what to do. You're not thinking. Everything happens like it's supposed to, and then you come back and you're like, zoom, and then everything like you hear sounds again. It's so cool.
Yeah. So that's it, right? That's it. And I think it's like the channeling thing. You know, it's akin to the channeling. When you channel, you kind of take a back seat sort of deal. You know,
we're just doing what we naturally are supposed to do, and you're just like you said when you were like, I wonder what would happen if I let go, and I'm like, ooh, it reminds me of that movie Lucy, like as she's coming online. Because you do, like, you're capable of anything.
Yeah. So I think that's the deal there. That's the deal there. Is that really, really letting go, you know, and
it's not that it seems like it's supposed to be so easy. Like, well, of course I want to like do magical things, but it's not, because even my brain still is like,
well, it's because it's challenging to put words. Like if you were to describe, like it's like you have a good idea of where I'm at with that, but for you to describe, this is how you actually let go in that moment. You do X, Y, Z. You can't put words to this shit.
That we do not have language for any of it. Our language is so insufficient, it's mind-boggling. But it's because it's all supposed to be experiential. It's not meant to be explained. Even in the act sometimes of explaining something incredibly mystical, it's like when you tell someone your dream and they're like, cool. And you're like, well, fuck. The same thing can happen. It's not necessarily that it was the magic was like taken away, but you kind of took it away because that was for you. And when you shared it and you didn't get the reaction you wanted or what have you. And sometimes just the act of sharing it can take it away because it's like it was just meant for you. And you'll know, but it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. That's why I did the self journal for the synchronicities for I just stopped telling people because I'm like, no, I'm gonna feed my shit.
Yeah.
I'm gonna feed my belief.
See, and I need yes.
And I heard someone say, I don't know who it was, but it was like, you just have to get on board with the way you view the world is going to seem crazy to damn near everybody else. And you just got to be like, that's okay. You know, you can still interact in that world, you know, and it's funny
it's more
when you
fun.
Yeah, it is. And it's also
because
kind of
people
funny
see you as like the outsider.
When you're in the store or whatever, and like you interact with people and you have these little small talk moments of conversations, and then you're walking away and you're just thinking, they have no idea. They have no idea, you know, like, you know.
I know it is. It's so like that's the fun part and the beautiful part. And I'm so glad that you get so much of it at a time because whenever it's difficult, you're just like, bruh. I mean, I think probably every day I was like, I'm not doing spiritual stuff. Like, it's all stupid and I hate it. Because I know what's happening. Like, even when I'm acting from emotion and not responding, you know, I'm just reacting if I'm triggered. I'll know that I'm aware enough to go, like, I'm watching myself do it and I'm like, ooh. So there's like one part of me that's like, you should stop. This is embarrassing for you. And the other part is a scared little girl that's convinced she's going to be abandoned and is like, love me, or I'm going to yell really hateful things at you. That's fun. So trauma it's beautiful, but I had to come to face like triggers are our teachers and not our tormentors. Because at first I'm like, no, this is awful and I don't like it and I'm done. But when I see it and I'm able to learn from it, even when it's stuff that you don't, you know, like sometimes there's personality stuff where you're like, oh, that sucks. And that's what I do. But knowing emotionally detached, like that's not me though. That's what my avatar is doing. So if I want to change it, change it. That's like the game, you know, it's kind of like what you were saying with like having fun with it. When you know that there's a whole backstage, we can like run and change our mask and come back and be whoever we want in any given moment and like have fun with it. And other people can get riled up about stuff. And it's like, well, if we just choose to not have a preference in that moment or have a belief that we are egoically tied to whatever the debate is, you're instantly not affected by it. And these things sound so easy. And sometimes it does come super easy because I also, side note, haven't meditated in like a month. So what do I get? I get reactions instead of responses. So it's on me. It's always on us.
Yeah, on the beholder. That Donald Hoffman guy that studies the consciousness, sometimes on the interviews, he'll say, you know, so you think that because I know all this stuff that I'm, you know, I have my emotions in check and that he's like, I don't. He's like, and you think that I might believe it, but I don't believe it. You know, he's like, but the science shows that this is what it is. And I'm now working on navigating that, you know. But the guy started when he was like way further along down the road in terms of the amount of times he's been around the sun.
Yeah, yeah. It's a beautiful thing. And it is so and everyone's spiritual journey isn't that difficult. Not everyone's been, you know, an addict and had the trauma and stuff. It's not always that hard. But we all have trauma. Like the act of being born is traumatic, you know, so there's always something to heal from. But I think most importantly, it's knowing yourself so that you don't put your trust only in everyone outside of you. Because, I mean, we don't even trust ourselves on what to wear. We're like, hey, does this look okay? Do I look okay? Because I don't believe myself that I look okay right now. So like, do I, like, even something as small as that. And then you get into the world of like going to the doctor and getting diagnosis and vaccines and all this stuff. If you don't trust yourself we're so open to all the fear mongering that's out there. And then now our vibration's lowered and we're contributing to that. And we don't want to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a feeling that we are, generally speaking, not going to attract many listeners that are in that area. You know what I mean? I feel like we're going to attract listeners who are like, they already get it, you know?
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
that's true. Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, anyone, because you would have to be, I don't know, but
Like
there's also just the curious.
comprehend. I mean, when I mean get it, I mean like they comprehend the general scope of how the chessboard works.
Yeah.
You know, they may not be a
No.
skilled chessboard player, or they can be a varying level of a skilled chessboard player, but they get that like this is the structure of the, you know, at least the general principles, right? Like the idea of working
I mean,
through
you
your,
think
you know.
most people, but really, you'd be shocked. People still
I'm
look at
saying
you
who
like,
I think. I'm saying like
oh,
I think
our,
our
yeah,
content is going to
yeah, no,
attract individuals, and it may vary. There's going to be variance, but I think
and I hope so, yeah.
majority, we're going to be attracting individuals that are, you know, they're
They
doing
get,
they
yeah,
get it, you know, and they're
yeah, they
wanting
get
to
it.
kind of relate to, you know, the different angles of it and
The
everything. You know what
truth,
I mean?
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Because it can definitely be hard, and it can also be like, I mean, yeah, I can talk about the hard, but life was hard before. But I never had these insane blissful moments and joy that like oozes from every cell of my body. That, I mean, these are things that I would never have experienced otherwise. I know
So
that.
I would
There's
like to
just,
say something though. If you're saying that the recent week or two has been challenging for you and you've been having some tests and whatnot, well, we've hung out long enough now where I've, you know, I think we've actually done a podcast where you were kind of in a similar space, right?
yeah.
But I feel that where you're at now is more okay with what you've been going through than a previous version of yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like when you go into that
Yeah.
ebb a little bit and then you come back, you know, I feel like you're more resilient than you were, you know, even 6 months ago.
That's the fucking, yeah. I love that. Thank you, because that feels awesome.
That's the
That's what you're
fucking
hoping
yeah
for.
right there.
Yeah, that's the fucking goal, you know? So yes, because you don't know, you see yourself every day and you're like, I'm chipper. And even on the hard days, it's not like the whole thing, but it'll be something that just like blows up and so yeah.
I think just because I've gotten to know you, like I can tell that there is an undercurrent, right? But it's not in any form debilitating. You know, not to say that 6 months ago it was debilitating, but like 6 months ago it was a little bit more loud, you know?
Yeah.
Right? So that shows to me that there's resilience, right? Growing.
Oh, that's true. And speaking of dreams, I need to ask her if it's okay, but I've been going through this difficult time with this eclipse, like it just, and it was a new moon, like, come on. So, my friend Helen messaged me and I was going through it. And like, when we're really in that hermit phase, like I don't touch my phone, and it's not out of being rude. It's like, I got nothing to give right now, like nothing. And she sent a couple of voice messages and I listened to them, and I'm telling you, it was literally verbatim. She was like, I had this dream, and then just like lays out exactly. She's like, I see you, there's an empty pool and you're in it, but which like represented me being like super overwhelmed. She's like, she started crying. Like as she's explaining it, she's like, it just feels like you're trying to stay above water. And I'm like, like sobbing, because she's like the person I started all this journey with. And I haven't spoke to her in weeks, and it doesn't matter. She always knows how I'm feeling, or she'll get like a literal dream that laid it all out for me. So I could be like, oh, that's what's happening. Because I won't always remember my dreams. So it's cool. Like we'll get messages from each other that we need. So when people are like, let me tell you my dream, I'm like, please do. Because you never know. And God, so much cool information comes through its dreams. And
Yeah.
I definitely want to be better at remembering, but my stuff kind of happens
Well, to your
during the
point, yeah,
day, I guess.
if everything's a reflection, you know, and we try to go micro, but from macro perspective, if everything's a reflection, then yeah, there could have been something in my dream that I just told you about that was a
100%.
synchronous something for you, and you know, it's you know,
Yep.
so you never know where it's going to come from, you know.
I know, literally everything. And that's why it's so cool. Because you never know where these messages or signs are going to come from until someone's speaking and you're like, are you living
Yeah,
my life? Like, are you in my
yeah.
head? How do you know this?
So,
I love it.
I know we can't put words to this stuff, but how would you describe the moment of experiencing stepping aside and allowing another conscious channel to come through while while the you is
Yeah.
taking a
That one's really weird because it's that feeling of you have to let go. Because at first you're like, what if I make stuff up? Am I making this up? Am I making this up? Because so I don't get like possessed. Like, I'm still aware. And I'm not saying that some people, it's just that some people, like that are really Bashar, he goes offline. He'll sometimes remember what was said. And most of the time, I'm not offline in that sense, unless I'm in a distance healing. But I still remember everything. So for me, it's just kind of like you're having thoughts, just like intuition, and you're just rolling with it. Like say everything, because some shit may be something you're making up. Some might be random phenomena in your head that's going on, and others will be the good hits. And I tell it's just like I've heard, and now what I tell people, don't worry about like where the information's coming from, just listen to it. Because sometimes I use a different accent each time, which sounds weird to me. But I just listen to the words, like what's being said. And if it sounds really intelligent and wise and loving, who gives a shit how it sounded or where it came from?
yeah, that's exactly it. That's
But
exactly
it's that one's hard because it's so simple that it's like, oh, that can't be real.
Yeah, I think
that's what I think channeling is like.
So like I think that when I get into certain modes with coaching, I feel like that's kind of what it is, right? Where it's like you really dial into it, you just kind of like hit the gas and you let go and it just starts happening kind of deal. That I feel like maybe me allowing that to go is what's contributing to where now I'm starting to get this feeling of like, wait a minute, I might be like where I'm gonna like really let go. You know, when it comes into, and then I think that maybe the inner child, there might be like a block or a mechanism block there that's kind of like, yeah, we don't fucking disconnect from the whole grid. All right, you have fun with your
Yeah.
woo-woo town, but we're gonna stay on the grid over here, you know. And so that's the thing, is like, I don't know if there's a way, or maybe I'm just gonna maybe I'll reach a point gradually where I figure out in my way how to go past it, because just the idea of letting go of that, I don't know how to, you know what I mean? Like it's like there's this mechanism that's keeping me from really going
fear.
there.
I do it too.
It's like, I mean, right now, like I'm even, it's these moments sitting here talking to you, it's like I'm outside and witnessing me talking and having a perspective about me talking that's different. It's fucking weird.
So it's no, I've literally had the exact same thing happen, and I only remember it happening once or twice. So it's really cool that it's like all the time for you. But it was essentially like if I was my soul chilling, watching myself talk. So it's like your soul's speaking instead of the mask. It really is in those moments, the flow, you're channeling your soul. You're just speaking from pure love.
There it is.
It's pretty incredible. Because that's like, I mean, I wrote that down the other day.
If anybody wants to sign up for some coaching or some,
the ego's got to come in every now and then.
I'm just saying. I mean, no, we have to have one. Because I think it's funny, people are like, oh, I got to get rid of the ego. And I'm like, what are you going to be, dead? Like, you ain't going to have no personality then. You just go sit there like, you're going to look like Phil. You get stuck like that. You can't be that happy all the time. Remember that one guy? Never looked the same again. Just
Can't be walking around here dead. Shit.
You can't be walking around all dead and happy with a smiling face. Nobody likes that.
Yeah, there's something to it.
I'll tell you what, it's like it's real, but it still freaks.
What's the quote? It's like the ego is a terrible master, but a wonderful servant.
Oh God, just like that's the perfect explanation of the mind.
Right.
Our mind should be used like a tool, not it using us.
Yeah,
I love
it's a
it.
fun tool.
Oh, it's a super
tool. You can have fun with your tool.
You can have fun with your tool. You can have fun with your tool and a friend. All the things.
Mm-hmm. Anything's possible.
I need to meditate. Anything. All things. I want to start doing my quantum physics again because there's been so much happening with that deity, the goddess Hecate. Oh my God. Like literally one of her signs is keys, okay? And then because she has like each deity has like their own representations with them. And hers are like large black dogs. Keep seeing these huge Dobermans at the park. I did a small little ritual at the park for her, like just an offering, because apparently she causes chaos in your life. So she upends your life, but it fixes it, and you're like, yay, ow. So I guess that's probably I have a little something to do with it, but anywho, that makes more sense. Okay, well, there it is. So she's been working with me, apparently. And like I even like me and Chris were together, we were on our way to the park, we're walking in, and I was like asking her, like, for a sign today, because I had been seeing like the literal keys or these big black dogs, whatever. I see a rock. It's upside down, but people put these painted rocks out there. I don't know if you've seen mine. But it's just for fun. And I was like, is that a painted one? And I go and pick it up. It's a regular effing rock. It wasn't painted any colors, and just in black, barely written, is love is key. Because I was going to ask her to open a new door. I needed a key because she's like the key holder, the gatekeeper of everything. I think she basically represents like the divine feminine energy, but in a specific way. So it's an archetypal energy of she's like a not nurturing. So like a mother that will protect you and do things for you, but she's also like, all right, rub some dirt in it. Like, let's make things happen. So I asked, that was what we were going there to do, is for me to do this process of asking for a key to open a new door, of essentially like, stop being crazy and like, just let yourself be loved and don't be scared of it. And before we even walk in the forest, I pick up the rock, and in little words, love is key. Love is key. And I was like, love is key. Love is the key. I didn't even notice it. He read it and like reread it. And I was like, because it's like I'm searching so hard for the signs, I'm missing them,
Yeah.
But that was pretty cool. Like that was just, and I love that example because I wrote that down in my journal. I'm like, literally any problem can be solved with just more love. Like if your plant's not growing, you give it more love. If your spouse isn't feeling good or they're being shitty, give them more love. Like if it's literally the answer to everything. And then that's our way of. Now, we still have to be sad sometimes, because that's where I'll get tripped up, is I'm like, no, I'm not sad. That's fine. Everything's fine. I'll just push it down because I'm spiritual and happy.
I think that love, from my perspective, love can always help. But the analytical mind is like, it's not going to fix everything. But it can always
What do you mean?
help. Well,
like
from the higher self perspective, no matter what happens, there's nothing ever to fix, right? But like from the egoic perspective, there may be certain things where it's like, all right, how are you gonna make this go away with your love juice? It's like, this is a real deal first world problem, like navigating a
I got a raise in 30 minutes.
Or, do what?
It's all about that. I manifested a raise while listening to a podcast about manifesting. And listening to it, I got called to the office and was given a raise. And I'm like, and literally in the podcast, or it was a book, it was an audiobook. I think it's like girl wash your face or whatever. But she's like, do you think you should be making more money? And I'm like, I do. And they're like, Heather, you can come back here. I'm like, oh God, I'm getting fired. And then so it's like by loving myself, by just pouring that love into me, I believed that so I do think it can literally solve any problem. It's how do you have to look at it?
Yeah, right. So I think that it does have the power to solve certain problems, quote unquote problems, right? But that there may be, depending on the individual, certain quote unquote problems where it's like, I don't know how it's
Why
going
do
to
you
fix
say?
it, you know?
Oh yeah, yeah.
But it can still help anything, no matter what the challenge is. Infusing a little bit more love always helps somehow, you know. And
Yeah, well, even just
oftentimes,
recognizing that whatever problem it is, loving that. Now you don't have a problem. The problem is the
right.
solution, like just not knowing that, because like that's what we do whenever we're accepting something that sucks.
Mm,
When we accept it, we're like, okay, well, it's meant to happen. And that's because we love it. It's like
mm,
your annoying neighbor, you love them, but maybe you don't want to hang out with them all the time. But I feel like that's even like what trials and those hard times are, whether it's money related or whatever. The act of giving, like whenever I do feel like that lack energy coming, I start giving. I tip. I'm like, here, take $30 because it's going. Like I'm believing and understand, because you don't want to hyper focus on abundance either, because that's just creating lack. Because if you're trying to affirmate money all the time, it's because you believe that you ain't got no money and it ain't coming. Where you have to start from a completely different perspective in the first place, where you just know it is. And that, I feel like, is a love of the universe, like the faith that is referred to in Christianity and what have you. Even though it doesn't feel like love, it has to be like that surrendering and that acceptance.
There's always more coming. It's just a question of whether it's more good or more shit.
Are you going to get more of the good or more shit? And then the other question
has a
is,
lot to do with what's in your head. Do you have
I was
good
just
in
going
your
to say,
head, or
do you
have
want to
shit in your
call
head?
it shit or good? Because it's there. Might as well enjoy it. You know what I'm saying?
All you gotta do is look in your head. Is there shit in there? Or is there good in there? You've seen the jerks with
That's all people need to know. And the end. You're welcome. Is there shit in there? Fix it.
Yeah, if there's some shit in there, you need to get that
Stinks.
shit out of there.
Get the shit out. You're welcome. The end.
Have you seen The Jerk though with Steve Martin? You ever seen that movie?
Yes.
There's a scene
Recently, weirdly.
Oh, cool. Synchronistically. I don't know if all versions have this, but there's a scene in the beginning when his dad from his adopted family's walking with him, and he's teaching him a little bit about life, and he teaches him one lesson. He goes, "You see that right there? That's shit." And he goes, and this is Shinola. And he goes, "Shit, Shinola. All right, boy, you have a good luck out there, whatever."
Stay alive. You're like, okay. Oh, I love it. Because it's really like, I mean, you talk to any old person and they're like, look, like it or don't, you gonna live it. You might as well be happy. And I'm like, yeah, but like, they're like, nope, just, you gotta choose to be. I'm like, all right. So there's not like a magic. They're like, no, just stop being a whiny brat.
No, just look in your head, and if you got shit in there,
and if there's shit in there, you just rake it, get it out.
Shit, All right.
All right. Woo woo crew out.